Recently, I celebrated the 1-year anniversary of my spinal fusion surgery. And I have to say that psychologically, this was a huge sense of relief for me because so much in recovery is defined around that 1-year period. So you'll be in rehab for the first year, or that the nerves will take at least a year to 18 months to heal. So now that I've reached that milestone, I feel like I can put a lot behind me because the worst is over and I can finally live my life without defining everything around my back and being a back surgery patient. You go into the surgery with all this hope that you're going to be healed and you're going to be living this pain-free life. But as the months go on and some things are taking long to settle down and you start to get the idea that there may be some effects that are permanent, you start to actually question, when am I finally going to be healed and what is that healing going to look like? Obviously, we're all very different, so I can't speak to everybody else's experience. I thought that what I'd rather do is cover off what 1 year looks like for me in terms of what healing is, what still bothers me, the things that I can do now, and the things that I can't do either yet or may never get to do. How do I define healing for myself? I've come to terms with the idea that I'm probably looking at about a 90 to 95% solution versus what other people would consider normal for their backs. But that's great because over the past decade, I've gone through this cycle of getting worse, having surgery and recovering, only to go through it for a second surgery and then again for the third surgery last year. But I knew that I'd reached the turning point just after 11 months this last time, when I was woken up from my sleep one night, and not as you'd think from pain, as was the norm for years and years and years, but it was actually the lack of pain that woke me up. And when I considered why this could be, what I realized is that I've probably reached the point where the bones have now finished their fusing and the nerves have finished their healing. So my nervous system is now being given permission to calm down and not react and spasm up the muscles and cause me this pain every single time I do things like exercise a bit more or travel or sit too long at my desk. There are some things that still bother me though. Firstly, I know that I've got permanent nerve damage in my right leg, in the skin that's numb to the touch towards the shin area, as well as in my right foot when I get to the evening and I try and move my foot. There's this definite feeling of numbness in that foot, and this is not surprising because of the amount of surgeries, the scar tissue, and years of nerve compression. I do get tired and my muscles get stiff when I've done exercise, especially in the evening. And stretching will help as well as resting, but sometimes I do find if bending and twisting is then painful for a few days, I then actually just take a couple of days of anti-inflammatories on the doctor's advice. Occasionally, I do still have neuropathy or nerve irritation in the form of like restless legs at night or a stabbing feeling in my skin. I can't sit for too long in front of the computer and have to get up regularly for breaks. Travel is pretty hard on my body. I often have to fly from Cape Town to Joburg for work, which is about a 2-hour flight, carrying a light hand luggage as well as a laptop bag over my shoulders, and I find that my back gets really, really tired after a couple of days of travel. My nervous system is overstimulated by caffeine and alcohol and sugar, so at least I stick to decaf coffee and limit my alcohol intake. And then building up exercise too quickly. I'm quite active, so I get frustrated at having to take things slowly, but I've really learned patience on listening to my body and building up just as much as my body will allow. It might sound like there are a lot of things that I can't do still, but these are lessening with intensity as time goes on, and they're really very, very manageable. But there's a lot that I actually can do now that I wasn't able to do before. Bending and twisting are mostly easy now, and I can actually do things like put my shoes on or get dressed without having to modify my action. Then something that's interesting, you'll see coming up on the screen, there's a couple of videos of some exercises I was doing on the year anniversary of my fusion. And what's remarkable about these is that I'm balancing on my right leg. Now, what I didn't realize my whole life, I thought it was just uncoordinated, but what was happening was I had nerve compression from when I was very young, and I never really got messaging through to those glute muscles on the right side, so they were never activating independently. And what that meant was that this right side of my body was really quite unstable and would collapse in with my knee and my hip. I could never throw a ball, which I can do now. I'm getting a lot less injuries and a lot less aches and pains just because I have stability in my body. I sleep most nights without pain these days, just keeping a pillow between my knees to make sure I keep my hips aligned. I also move without fear. For the longest time, I was so worried about causing an injury or causing back strain that I limited my movements. And I find now that I don't have to do that anymore. I move with a lot more confidence and freedom. I've started up playing paddle again. I'm not overexerting myself. I'm keeping it really moderate by playing a game once a week or once every second week, and for now that is fine. I mostly enter trail events or go for walks in the mountain. I stick to around 5 to 8 kilometers, and instead of trying to do any trail running for now, I just stick to walking. And these days, I don't have any limitations to what I can cope with in a work day. Now, the reality is, once you've had a back fusion, there are some dreams you just let go of, or some things that you choose not to do because they just don't feel safe for you. One of those things is giving up the dream of road running a half marathon. I really wanted to do this before, but running on the tar is quite a hard and repetitive motion. So my PT team and surgeon said to me that although I can do it, they recommend rather not doing it and just protecting my spine health. I love playing paddle. I wanted to get better and start playing a little bit more competitively, but I don't know if that's in my future, so I'd rather keep things moderate and social, and that's fine for now. I've decided to sell my golf clubs. Just feels like it might not be the best thing for my back. Other people have gotten back into golf, that's great for them, but I don't know if it's worth it because I really wasn't that great a golfer anyway. And lastly, with lifting heavy weights, I avoid lifting heavy things around the household. In my PT sessions, we focus on around 12 kilograms so that I know how to lift things carefully and in a controlled way if I do need to. But for the most part, if I don't have to lift it, I don't. So that is what 1 year looks like for me. It may not be perfect, but I'm so grateful for the life that I'm getting to live. And if you are still in your recovery journey, please do know that it can and often does get better. Healing might not be about going back to the way things were, but maybe it's about moving forward in a new way, with more awareness, more strength, and more compassion for your body. Thank you for being a part of my journey. As always, here's to healing, and I will see you at the next one.